For the press, please state your name, your affiliation when we call on you, and then if you can have one question, hold your second question, follow up. We want to go through everybody as much as we can, at least get one question in from members of the press, and then we'll do a follow-up both online and in the room as well. We're going to start with everyone in the room here in just a minute. I believe we had over 62,000 people show up here in Indianapolis. Just a remarkable turnout. I want to welcome our VIPs in this press conference as well. Thank you for being here. I'm sure you had an awesome experience, and we're glad to have you here in person as well. My name is Dan Hubbard. I get to host Race Day Live with Haley Shanley, Justin Brayton, and tonight Chase Cook and Lurch. So exciting to host the night show as well, and I think I can speak for all of us in this room. Some incredible racing went down tonight in the first ever Triple Crown hosted by Indianapolis. In first place, Jet Lawrence. We have Chase Sexton and Ken Roxon as well. Big round of applause for our podium in the 450s. And Chase, we talked about at the end of the show there, Ken Roxon is the only other person ever to go 1-1-1 in the history of the Triple Crown. How does it feel for you and your team to make that happen? And I also want to follow up. You mentioned it was rough out there. Everyone was talking about it. Just how rough was it for you to take that 1-1-1, considering how the track was breaking down?
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. And yeah, Lars told me after the race, and the last person to do it was Kenny, and it was on a Honda too. So it's kind of cool to keep that ritual going with the Honda, going 1-1-1-1. So, but yeah, that track was gnarly. You can kind of catch you at any moment. It was scary riding next to someone in the rhythm, but because you try and stay straight as possible, and it could catch you off guard pretty quickly. But no, the track was gnarly, but I think it created some good racing.
Well, you talked about the old jet and the new jet, and it looks like we saw the new jet out there tonight. Is that right?
Trying to be.
All right, let's go to our press here.
Mitch Kendrick from RacerX Online. Kenny, this one's for you. I think it was in the second race you found that jumping line through the left side of the whoops, and then it looked like in the end of the third race everybody was doing that. So how did you find that line, and just kind of what did that come down to, picking that line? Because like I said, at the end of the night, everybody was picking up on it.
Yeah, I've been telling myself to just try and adjust, not get stuck in the same rut. And I wasn't really happy with what I was doing before. And because we had that last half whoop right there, there was only one rut developing. But then I went to the left side, and it was fairly smooth right there. And I skipped that one and could kind of like make a new line, cut over the inside rut. So that's kind of like what I was going for. And then in the last main, actually, in the parade lap, I saw that the very right of the whoops was actually the freshest. So made it through there a couple of times really good. I wasn't comfortable jumping into the whoops anymore just because there were a lot of ruts, and it was kind of a blind takeoff. And I ended up switching over to the left side again because that was definitely faster, and wish I would have done that a bit earlier. But I just try to adjust with what the track's giving me.
Jim Kimball with Motocross Action for Jet Lawrence. Jet, speaking of the whoops, there was that, I don't know if you'd call it a wall jump, just before the whoops, and I didn't pick up on this, but I saw you like in the third race jumping that into the whoops. Had you been doing that all night long?
All day, no. I kind of caught on to it when Kenny did in the first one. Then once kind of Kenny did, I felt like just kind of got comfortable and got into a rhythm of doing that. And yeah, I kind of kept with it throughout the whole night, really. I just felt more comfortable kind of coming in, had a better run through the whoops. I even tried in the second one, I was on the right side of the whoops, and I was jumping even further, and it worked out. Still pretty good. Got a few oopsies a couple of times, but I just ended up finding the flow better jumping in after I saw kind of Kenny do it in the first one.
Scott Yarjo, Moto Now blog. Jet, this question's for you. It seemed like in that last race, you were pretty content for the first half, kind of staying in second. You didn't need to pass Kenny for the overall win, but then Chase started pressuring you. Was there a strategy there to like, hey, if you aren't getting pressure from behind, to just stay in second and not pass Kenny?
Yeah, that was kind of the original plan. When on the start, obviously, I was second and kind of was following Kenny for a bit. And yeah, I kind of was okay with that. Then, yeah, Chase started breathing down my neck through that one rhythm. So I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta step it up, and kind of had to pick up the pace a bit, and ended up just kind of getting pretty close to Kenny. I'm like, well, if there's a pass kind of that I can take, I'll take and try and keep the same pace going on. I don't want to try and push over my head with this track. And and yeah, a pass ended up coming up and had to work for a good few turns. But yeah, ended up getting it. It was kind of felt just comfortable, kept on going my same pace.
Andrea Ruggiero, Moto Now Blog. Ken, I was wondering if you noticed how close the points were, and in the third race, after Chase passed you, did you notice that if Webb had passed you, then Chase would have taken the second place?
Yes, I actually thought of that before the main started, just, because first main, second main, we were all the same, and then if I were to get third and what that would do. And I knew that if Cooper passed me, that second place would be gone. And I actually thought we had another lap to go, but luckily checkered flag came out, so that was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, I did know that if Cooper passed me, I was going to get third.
Kellen Brower.
Yeah, thanks. Kellen Brower with MotoOnline.com. Jeff, for you, in all three main events, it seemed like it was more or less around the halfway mark that you strategically maybe started looking at options to passing Kenny. Was there any reason why early in the race you weren't able to get a little bit closer?
Well, yeah, Kenny's always been really good at his first few laps and sprinting. I was trying to keep him close. I would have liked doing it at the start, but no, Kenny kind of just kept that gap at the start that he's really good at doing and kind of managing that first half. And I kind of just was, all right, let's kind of make sure he finds some lines that I can flow with to at least maybe try and pull him in or something. And then, yeah, once we got kind of halfway, I got into a good rhythm and would just try and get close because it wasn't too much of a kind of planning I pass him here. It was kind of just if I can get close enough, try and pass him here or wherever the opportunity came up.
Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan Nitzan with Cycle News. My question's for Chase. You kept getting better with each round tonight. Are you just feeling better physically or making progress with the bike?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think, as you guys have seen this season, I haven't been super great, but I feel like we're getting better, and I'm able to do motos during the week now and kind of get back to how I have normally trained. But yeah, with the bike, it's been a big change, and yeah, we still have some room for improvement for sure, but we're on the right path, and yeah, we're just gonna try and keep inching closer with these final rounds, and yeah, just give it my best every weekend.
Brock
Bridges, supermotocross.com. Congratulations, Jet. That's 45 wins since you came over. AMA wins almost 50% of the time. That's pretty incredible. But Kenny, I think it was the first or second race during one of your battles, Ricky Carmichael mentioned that perhaps you didn't let Jet by you on purpose, but you were probably going to be very interested in maybe trying to find some of his lines to see maybe where he was gaining time on you. Was there any strategy to that? Were you able to find anything? I mean, it seemed like there were times where you'd get closer to him, he'd, pull away from you. I was just curious if Ricky was on to anything about that suggestion.
Was that for Kenny? I thought it was for Jack.
Well, that's for you, bud.
Oh, sorry. Say that again, please. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that Ricky Carmichael suggested that you would have been very interested in Jet's lines once Jet got past you in one of those first motos. So I was just curious if Ricky was on to anything when he suggested that you would be watching very closely to see where he was gaining ground on you, and if you were able to figure that out.
No, for sure. I mean, that's kind of like been the game plan. Before or in the past, I was kind of always stuck to like whatever rhythm I was doing, and I try to be smart about it because, like, the back rhythm after the tabletops, for example, I just didn't really like going double and table over single, that rhythm. But I knew that it was a little bit faster, but I kind of just stuck to what I knew and raced that section. And then in other areas, like the whoops, I was playing with the whoops a little bit. And I just, try to definitely move around. And I could just tell then, once he made a couple of little mistakes, I did get closer again. So it's a cat and mouse game. And that's what's so fun about racing, I'm learning every single day and every single weekend as well. And it's decisions that you kind of make on the fly.
Mitch again from Racer X. This one's for Jet. Obviously, you mentioned the Triple Crowns haven't been your strong suit, and you've been mentioning the new Jet. Did you have a different approach, like, to these Triple Crowns now that you're in the 450 class, knowing, like, your mistakes are going to be more costly just racing against these veterans? Like, compared to you in the 250 class, just compare the approach. Obviously, it's always to win. but just compare the approach 250 class versus 450 class for Triple Crown.
Yeah, coming in, I think the biggest thing is because everyone's so close in speed, that starts is such a big key, and having the least amount of mistakes. So we don't have a full 20 minutes to kind of, if we have a crash or a little quick tip over, we don't have the time to kind of get back to the front. And obviously, because everyone's so close, it's a lot harder to try and make up chunks of time, especially on this track when everyone's kind of doing similar rhythms. So, but no, it's a little bit of a different, mental mind frame coming in, just really trying to execute all 3 starts and just execute good, consistent laps.
Jim Kimball with Motocross Action for Chase Sexton. Chase, I think you were being a little modest earlier. You rode really awesome. And I think, like, if the third race kind of proved if you start near the front, the outcome maybe could have been better for the overall tonight.
Yeah, no, my riding wasn't horrible tonight. I think I was definitely better, and but there's when you have a feeling of when you know you're going fast and when you're not. I still haven't gotten that feeling where I know I'm going fast. So that's kind of when I relate to how I felt in the past. It's kind of that. It's just more of a feeling, and still trying to find that spark that I've had in the past. But yeah, I think the starts are a big key tonight, as Jet said. I don't know how I made them work. The first 2 mains, I was coming into the turn, like, not dead last, but pretty far back, and I kind of weaseled my way through and was able to make some good passes. I was really scared of the triple the first lap because it's so soft and people are going everywhere. I didn't like that the triple was that close to the start, so I was really trying to get myself somewhat of a clear run for that thing. And you never know if someone's going to chop the throttle or not, so... yeah, like I said, we're moving in the right direction, but still, we got a lot of work to do.
Scott Yarjo, MotoNet blog. Chase, we actually saw the track crew go out in between every race and try to prep it, fix up the rods. Can you take us through how the track evolved from like the first lap all the way through to the end?
Honestly, like all day, even in practice, it was kind of they fixed the same things on the track, so I was pretty aware of what the track was going to be like. I actually talked to the Dirtworks guy after the race. They did a really good job. I felt like coming to Indy, I would have never have guessed they would put a Triple Crown at this race because of how gnarly the tracks are and how rutted it gets. But they did, and it was really soft this year. So I feel like they did a really good job and kept it as safe as they possibly could. It wasn't an easy track, but it was raceable. And I was a little bit worried in practice that it was going to be like trail riding out there just because of how rutted it was. But it was actually a pretty good racetrack, and they did a good job at keeping it raceable.
I actually thought it was the best in the third one. Like, it got better as we started racing. Almost, no way.
You were saying it got better as you went racing. For you, I'd love to hear that, and I think
I just think that, the more they work it, and it just kind of gets packed down, but I felt like from the first main on to the second and the third, I felt like we were going faster, like lap time-wise, overall.
Yeah, I think conventional wisdom would break down and get worse to the third, so interesting. Yeah, cool. All right, Jeff Beaver, you have your hand up.
Yeah, Jeff Beaver, Whiskey Throttle Media. This is for all 3 guys. I'd like to know if there's a difference in your approach for the day for a Triple Crown from, say, the track conditions at Anaheim to a night like tonight where it was super tacky, really physical. I know somebody had mentioned that it was really hard pulling on you on the bike the way it ruts up. Does that change your approach to preparing for each race during the night?
One word, survival. Kind of, this track can bite you so quick. So you kind of have to wait a little bit, and I think it was more wet and saturated than it was last year. Last year, I feel like the ruts were a little bit more consistent. So you have to approach these races, first of start. We always talk about starts. You have to get the start in these ones, but at the same time, you got to just really pick your battles.
Troy Benjamin, Vermoto.com. You guys all can chime in on this, but we've seen some really rough track conditions and weather this year. Where does this season stack up against some of the others in your careers?
It's my first season, so I can't really say much.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, it depends also the state that you're personally in. Like, I feel like in 2022, like, I wasn't good, and the whoops were huge, and it got rough, and just wasn't very comfortable. So I felt like that was worse for me. But yes, I agree. We've had couple of really gnarly mud races, and then overall more soft tracks than we had harder tracks. So yeah, it's been fun, but definitely tough at the same time.
Yeah, I think this year has been some of the softest conditions that we've seen. It almost feels like every race has been an East Coast race. I don't know why that feels like that, but I feel like every race I'm trying to jump the whoops when normally we skim them. We haven't had too many whoops that we've actually skimmed, but yeah, I think the last couple of races, I think Seattle, hopefully, fingers crossed it doesn't rain. But I think these last 7 races should be pretty hard packed. Not hard packed, but I guess more like we're used to, and they should be good racetracks, especially St. Louis is probably the best dirt of the year. So looking forward to that.
Scott Yarjo, Moto Now blog. Kenny, you mentioned at the press conference in Detroit that you wanted to start working your way back up in points. You backed that up with a win the following weekend. You had a couple off weekends, and now you have podiums back to back again. Where are you at, like, mentality-wise? Are you still thinking about championship and points currently, or is it now, like, race wins?
I mean, I'm pretty far down. It's just tough when, Jet's been winning, and I've been riding really good, but then not good enough to, like, even keep it in the same range. But to the other guys, I've at least been making up points. I believe I'm 4th in the championship now or so I am getting closer to the other guys, but just not the Jet. So I don't know. There's plenty of racing left, and you just never know. So I'm just going to keep trucking along, and whether it's a championship or not, I'm just trying to put it on the podium every weekend, hopefully get another win or two. That'd be awesome. So I'm just really want to try my best, ride my butt off.
All right, let's have a big round of applause for our podium here. We have Jet Lawrence, Ken Roczen, Chase Sexton in Indianapolis. Well done, gentlemen. 250's coming up next.
Not you this week, dude. You're good. Nicely done, man. Dude, it was cool watching you battle back, dude. Just keep, it's hard. What happened last week and then this week, it's like, okay, man, keep going. And you, dude.
Let's get started with the 250 East press conference here, and we have in first place Cameron McAdoo, Tom Vial in second, Hayden Deegan in third. Big round of applause for our podium in Indianapolis. I'll start with you, Cameron McAdoo, third career win, your second overall Triple Crown win, and your podium speech kind of reflected a little bit what you were talking about on Race Day Live with Justin Brayton and myself today. And I want you to expand on that. What's changed for you mentally that started at the beginning of the year and has carried you now to this win and the red plate in the 250 East?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about it quite a bit in some interviews in the past few weeks, but to be honest, I'm getting older. I've done it quite a few years now, and just in the last few years have I been a front-running lights guy. I spent a lot of years of my career just hopeful to even be on a ride that I can keep racing. So it was a quick transition, and then it turned into an expectation very quickly. And then I think last year, to be honest, I was expecting to try and win and trying to fight Jet for wins, and then I had a few races where I got passed on the last lap for second place into third, and I remember being so mad on the podium, so mad on Sunday flying home, and I a couple weeks later I got injured and it was all gone and it was all stripped from me. I was laying on the couch out of surgery, so a lot of reflecting through this summer or last summer, and there was so much that I had to be grateful for in those times, and I didn't really take advantage of that. And I don't know, I'm just realizing that I'm not going to be able to do this forever. This is a really short portion of my life, and it's really special. It's really cool to be able to be up here with these two guys. These are a couple of the best dirt bike racers in the world, and to be able to sit next to them. Honestly, even Tom Vial, he's a two-time world champion. Like, that's insane. So it's just really cool to be here, whether I win tonight or, just fighting up in the front. And yeah, it's really special, and I don't want to take any of it for granted. So yeah, I'm just really grateful for where I'm at, and we're going to keep pushing forward.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you. Let's start. Who has the mic? Yeah, go ahead.
Troy Benjamin, Vermoto.com. Hayden, my question's for you. You had a pretty eventful weekend last week in Birmingham. What did you have to do this week to put all that behind you and focus on the task at hand?
Yeah, definitely. I've been behind in general just because of injuries and stuff. So this week before this round, it was a good week of training, putting the motos with the team, and just getting back to speed where we should be. And it's slowly coming back. So just finding that speed, finding that where I was before I got hurt, and yeah.
Scott Yarjo, Moto Now blog. Cameron, congrats on the win. Were you aware in that last race that Hayden had crashed in the first turn? And what was going through your mind at the end? Like, was it hard to stay focused knowing you didn't necessarily need to push forward?
I didn't know what happened. I wasn't aware of anything of a crash. I did get into third behind Pierce, and I had some available pace that I think, he was riding well. But, yeah, I kept looking at the board, and I knew that Binnick and Romano were fourth and fifth. Had no clue where Hayden was, but I was just making sure. I knew that if Hayden went up to the board, I needed to go. And then with probably 6 laps to go, I think. I don't really quite remember, but I came out of the whoops and I went to start going down that straightaway, and I saw Hayden landing the triple into the turn before the mechanics area, and I was like, okay, I'm fine right here, But also, I really still had to stay locked in. I quit hitting the triples in the rhythm lanes. I started doubling some of the really technical, hard ones that were hard to consistently make, but I was still racing it. Because in the past, I think that's what's maybe caught me off guard before and caused some injuries, to be honest, is not being super locked in. So I was really trying to focus on staying locked in and racing the track. But, yeah, I was aware of everything that was kind of around me, and I'm sure you guys saw that towards the end of that last main.
Jim Kimball with Motocross Action for Tom. Tom, you're a 2-time world champion, but this is only your sophomore season or second year in Supercross. Did you expect you to be challenging for the championship in your second year?
I don't know. I mean, I would say yes and no. I've been improving a lot during the winter. So, I've kind of struggled last year, to be honest. It was my first year. Everything was really new, and I feel way better this year. I had a good winter, and I feel pretty good on the bike. So I feel like right now I'm in a good moment. Like, I feel pretty good. So on the bike, and I had a great start tonight. I'm a little bit frustrated with the crash in the first moto. I tried to slow down a little bit in those whoops, and then just went super fast. I tipped over, and I was actually fine. So that was pretty nice. But yeah, I wanted to win the last one. I was really kind of a little bit back from those two guys, and I really wanted to win the last one. And I had a great start, and I was riding pretty good till the end.
Andrew Rougeau, Moto Now blog. Hayden, I was curious if you knew that you were in third overall, but if you had passed your 2 teammates in that last race, that you would have been moving up.
Yeah, definitely. I did see it on my pit board. It said, pass the guys in front of you to get second. So I was like, trust me, I was charging. Crashed on the start, couldn't get the bike started, and then it was just a fight from there. And when you're pushing that hard, trying to catch guys like that, you make mistakes, which kind of cost you some time. So it was hard, trying to push as hard as you could and make a little bit of mistake here and there. You're just like kind of fighting it. But yeah, I was just grateful to get up that far and still get a podium position after cleaning myself out on the start.
Mitch Kendrick from Racetracks Online. Cameron, obviously, you've had race wins before, but as you know, the race wins aren't guaranteed in this sport. There's a lot of racing to go in this season, but now you talk about being in the present. There's work to do come Monday, but what does the next 24 or 48 hours look like for you while you're in the present celebrating this and taking it all in?
Honestly, the next 24 hours probably looks very similar to the last 3 Sundays after the races. I'm going to fly home, do a little bike ride on my bike path, and hang with my dog. And I'm really going to enjoy it. Like this is really special to me. Like as far as celebrating it, it's a win. Like they don't get any easier ever, it seems. And they're just as special and maybe even more, the more, like how competitive the field is right now. Like I just alluded to earlier, Tom's a 2-time world champion. Hayden is the SMX champion right now, reigning in his rookie season. So I have huge competition. I need to stay locked in, stay focused forward. We have a few weeks off here that we're going to continue to work to improve. We didn't win all 3 mains, and these guys have been riding really good. So I'm really going to enjoy it. It's special, but yeah, we gotta lock in and move forward. So yeah.
Jamie Guida.
Tom, I want to ask you about the track. There seemed like a couple spots on the track that were very key tonight, the whoops being one. And then just from home, that table on the table was very, very difficult, at least it appeared to be. Just talk about the track as a whole, though. It seemed to be almost a bigger competitor than the other racers tonight.
Was on me?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, Tom, sorry.
Sorry, I was not listening. Yeah, I mean, the track was pretty gnarly. The afternoon, I think, actually, in the afternoon was the worst. We went through the night, and they actually flat. I was talking a little bit before. They kind of flat a lot before each moto. The last one was almost brand new. The track, only the whoops were pretty beat up. But, so yeah, the whoops in the first moto were kind of new, and they got pretty bad in only 10 minutes. And it's what I said. I feel like the track was kind of, I mean, it was safe to flat some jump, but was pretty fast and was not so rough. I would say it was not so rough in the night. Was way more tough in the afternoon, and I was a little bit frustrated because I went to the sighting lap in the last moto, and the whole track was brand new. Even the sand, everything was new. So I was a little bit surprised. Of course, you have to make it safe, but I would have liked, to be honest, a little bit more rough through the night.
Thanks.
Yeah, Stefan Le Guin, LeBigUC.com. That's a question for Tom. Tom, you're a good starter, and it seems that tonight you struggled a little bit in the 2 first start. What happened? Can you explain?
I started the first moto. I was around third or fourth, and then the second moto and third moto I was first or second. So I mean, my stats were pretty okay, I would say.
Hey, Cameron, Michael Antonovich with Swap Moto Live. Looking at the top 3 results that you guys put together tonight, your numbers are like double digits better than the other guys. And as we know in the 250 class, consistency is what it takes. You've been at it a while. What is it about finally figuring out the consistency? Like, what does it take to do it?
For me personally, I think it's been taking what you can get at the moment. I've, in the past, I think, struggled with that. If I start 5th or 6th and I see, say, Hayden or Tom up front and getting away, I'm like, I got to go now. And maybe get a little bit panicked sometimes. And I think that has a lot to do with some of my inconsistency in the past. And my consistency is not perfect. I think I got 15th at the first round. Hayden got 16th, and Tom maybe got 20th. But obviously that was a little bit of a different circumstance. We all kind of got cleaned out. But still, yeah, it's a work in progress. But I think knowing the confidence in where you're at, I think that by now we're at round 5, and it's pretty clear that us 3 are I think we're going to fight for it, right? Like that's especially with the way the first and second main went. Yeah, we especially when the track broke down, we kind of separated fairly decently. But yeah, just focusing on each race for sure, especially with Triple Crown.
Ryan Nitzen.
Thanks, Ryan Nitzen with Cycle News. My question's for Hayden. Hey, Hayden, have you had a chance to watch that footage from the last start? And if so, can you just take us through your point of view from it? What happened?
Yeah, definitely. I was starting inside all night on that start because I was not risking come across and then another like incident. So I was like, I'm gonna start on the inside and just hug this inside. And it was my fault. I came in too hot, locked the front brake up, and I would have made the turn fine. But what happened was when I locked the front brake up, it lifted my rear up and it set it to the left, which it landed like on the edge of the hay bale, and it spun me into a 180. So it was a mistake on my part, and it caught me off guard. Definitely, I thought I was be able to get a good start, sneak under there, and I was like, oh damn, I'm backwards right now. So we got up and just had to charge forward.
Well, thank you,
Kellen.
Kellen Brower with MotoOnline.com for Hayden again. It seemed like in the first two races it was tough for you guys to make either make passes or make up time on the track as well, but after your crash in the third race, you were running some really strong lap times even in traffic. What were you seeing in that third race with the track?
Yeah, I feel like you come into Triple Crowns with the goal to be consistent, right? So if you're starting up there with those guys and you're having a top 3 start, it's not a rush the track and throw it away with the first 2 races. It was more just trying to be consistent, and unfortunately did throw it away in the third one, but that's why you kind of see that not too flashy. I don't know. Maybe the other guys are different, but for me, it's more of like a try and be consistent the first 2. I mean, you want to be consistent through all of them, but a little mistake bit me.
Hey, Hayden, this one is for you. After the week that you had last weekend, I'm sure you know there was a lot of speculation about like what you guys did this week, and you guys know what you did, but there was a lot of wonder of how you were going to come in and take today on. Did you come in with a different mindset, something you have to prove? Did you want to be low-key and just get through it? What was the day?
Yeah, definitely. I seen a quote. It was like, you're focusing too much on the future and what you want on the future. And I had to, settle back and realize, like, I'm living my dream right now. As a kid, I dreamed of racing Supercross, getting on podiums. I literally had a Cameron McAdoo jersey in my room, on my wall. That's something a lot of people probably wouldn't know, but I had a Cameron McAdoo jersey on my wall when he rode for Honda. So, it's a dream of mine to just be in this position in the first place. And I was just looking too far in the future, and it was catching up on me. And that's why you see, some of the emotions come out, and also injuries. A lot of heart goes into this sport, and when stuff bites you like that, the emotions get the best of you. But I'm growing up, I'm learning, and you just got to build.
And Hudson just got posted a Cameron McAdoo jersey tonight from me. So both of the Deegan brothers have Cameron McAdoo jerseys. I would dare to say that Hayden doesn't have the Cameron McAdoo jersey on his wall anymore, though.
No, it's not on the wall anymore. It was.
All right. Jeff Beaver.
Jeff Beaver, Whiskey Throttle Media. This question is for Cameron. You've talked a lot about focusing on the moment and being positive and stuff like that. With motocross being so mental, with all your reflecting time during your injuries, have you found that being positive and focusing on your racecraft and stuff like that and just kind of makes the negative stuff just kind of take care of itself?
It's helpful, and I think like as I speak on being so grateful, being so happy, and like I'm not perfect. After qualifying 7th, I was like, man, do I got it tonight? I struggle, I have self-doubt just like everyone does. I question myself, and I deal with struggles like we all do. But I've just really started to find out that I think I've just taken a little bit of the pressure off of myself, as in I'm the same person whether I have success on Saturday night or not. And that's really hard. It's not I haven't gotten it dialed yet, but I've just made a big change really quick, I think, with my perspective of the sport, my perspective of what it means to me. And yeah, it's just it's helpful to be more settled in my mind and okay with whatever my best can be that night and each weekend. And at the end of the championship, this is the best place I've been in at round 5. And again, like I'm just going to keep doing what I can every day and just be present every lap of the track, every time I go to dinner with my wife, like everything.
Congratulations on the win tonight.
Thank you.
Brock?
Brock Bridges, supermotocross.com. Cameron, this question is for you. You've been doing these Triple Crowns for a long time now. Probably, I mean, I guess almost all the ones that you could have done based on what regional you were in. And I'm wondering, from the first years when you did them to now, if any strategies changed with the points in your head, as far as maybe at one point it was distracting when these Triple Crowns first came up, to try to think where you were. Maybe now, has the team told you, don't worry about it, we'll let you know? I'm just curious if there's any strategy or psychology in the trying to figure out where you are when it comes to the Triple Crowns, and if that has changed in your career from when these started 6 years ago to now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely strategy. For me, it felt really important to get a good result in the beginning, because I think that obviously sets the tone for the night. And a lot of people have asked in the last few days, I think all of us have been asked if we like Triple Crowns or not. And I've said I like it for the fans, and if it goes good, it goes good. But if it starts going bad, it can kind of spiral that way too. So something I struggled with earlier on in my career, I think, or a few years back, would have been focusing on the next main while I'm in one. So I think just like race each race and get what you can get in that one. And then once it comes to the third main, definitely there's obviously strategy with points. And we all three knew where we were and where we needed each other to finish to achieve our end main goal. So that's, and yeah, we do, my team comes together and, hey, if such and such gets this position, and we know where we need to be. And again, like I had said, maybe bringing it back a little bit towards the end of that third main, just because I knew that at the end of the night, if I ended up where I was, that I was going to achieve my goal.
Jamie, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I got one more for Hayden. You're sitting there with Cameron McAdoo, who I believe is in year 8. You're in year 2, obviously. And with that time comes race maturity and learning patience. He's talked about that a little bit. Do you try to process that when you're racing? You talked about, like, hey, I know I need to get Romano and Bennett, but if you push too hard, you can obviously go down and make things worse for you. Are you starting to be able to process, I don't have to go 100% all the time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every man has their own goals, so I guess that's kind of changes the way you race a little bit. But, I mean, for me, I like just pushing forward. I get where Cameron's coming from. I get his point 100%. But I'd say I'm just a little different. I want to charge forward and keep charging. And if it's there, you got to take it. And if it's not there, you got to keep trying to get there. So that's the way I look at it. And you also have to have maturity too, right? You got to be consistent. You got to realize, like, if I push this area too much, it's going to bite me. But kind of in the same way as Cameron, you could say.
Okay, thanks, man.
Scott Yarjo, Moto Now blog. Cameron, we already talked about Hayden's first turn crash, but you also had like kind of a sketchy moment going into that first turn in the last race. Can you walk us through that?
How do you like put your hand up?
To be honest, I don't really remember. I felt like I was just stoked. I was like right up there up front, and I think I was maybe 3rd or 4th. But down the long lane in race 2 and 3, I had very sketchy moment that I went on off on that table, and then 3 and rode 3 tough blocks. They're Oakley tough blocks in that lane, if you guys were wondering. Very much so. Rode those things both mains, and I was like, wow, that was nerve-wracking.
In the first turn, you kind of like pushed wide and then pushed like Hammaker and other people off the track. Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Obviously, it didn't matter.
Anyone else? I think we're good. Let's have a round of applause again for Cameron McAdoo, Tom Vial, and Hayden Deegan. Brilliant run for our 250 East. Thanks to our VIPs for showing up. Thanks to our press, of course, for being here. And that will conclude the post-race press conference for round 10, the 2024 season of Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship. We'll see you at the next round in Seattle.